how to use the impeachment process to remove Donald Trump from the presidency. Very briefly, what the impeachment process is a two-step process, starting in the House of Representatives, which votes on articles of impeachment, which only requires half of the members to say, let's impeach. And when that is done, the articles of impeachment go to the Senate, where the trial ostensibly happens, and there is a fair and extensive trial going into each of the articles in great detail, calling forth witnesses, just like there would be in any normal trial. However, in today's circumstances with this particular president, it's pretty clear to everybody that at this point in time, any kind of articles of impeachment that were actually voted on and sent to the Senate would likely receive short shrift or be swept under the rug or be subject to some kind of a fix where there would be no fair, objective, extensive trial. Trump would be, quote, exonerated and basically let off the hook by the Senate. Ergo, there's a lot of people who say, why bother to even begin an impeachment process, right? Because it's not going to go anywhere. You're just wasting time and you're distracting from a campaign and from all of the other issues that come before us in terms of the way the Trump administration is destroying the Environmental Protection Agency and the Department of Agriculture and probably hundreds of other particular items that could be brought to the public's attention, where Trump is reversing decades of policy in ways that hurt people, that hurt the environment, that hurt health, that hurt education, that hurt students, that hurt farmers, that hurt coal miners, basically that hurt everybody that Trump has promised good things for. Okay, so let's get back to square one. We've just spent 2 minutes introducing the impeachment process and why a lot of people say it can't work. Let's take another couple of minutes to describe the way that I would like to see the process used. And that means introducing an impeachment inquiry, which is basically a series of ongoing hearings, public open hearings, held by the Judiciary Committee in the House of Representatives. Jerry Nadler obviously is going to be running that. And what I'm suggesting very simply is to use the process of ongoing, extensive, detailed, and intensive hearings to shed light, lots and lots and lots of bright, factual, evidentiary, objective light onto Donald Trump, his activities as president, and his activities prior to his presidency, which make him vulnerable to all manner of illegitimate influence from various places. We won't go into all the details of that because that, again, will be the subject of the hearings. But the point is that holding these hearings and holding them, if necessary, right up to the election day in November of 2020, yes, use these hearings as an opportunity to fully inform and fully educate the American people and the people of the world as to all of the perfidious, malevolent, malignant, dishonest, and dangerous aspects of the Trump presidency that are a threat not only to this nation existentially, but a threat in many ways to the world economy, and in terms of global warming, a threat to all life on Earth. Because we don't have forever to get this right. There are people who say that we could be engaged in a process of relatively near-term extinction for us humans. And every day that we as a nation continue to go backwards in terms of global warming and global heating and trying to do something about it is a day we're not going forwards, and the possibility of irreversible tipping points being reached increase. And the stakes are the lives of billions of people. And in the worst case scenario, the lives of everybody alive today. So again, going back to the idea that I'm trying to perpetuate here, and I keep getting sort of sidetracked into why it has to be done, it's actually a very, very simple idea. Excuse me. And the idea is, in a nutshell, to use the process of an impeachment inquiry as a political battering ram, which will blow into the wall, which will pound into the stone wall of Trump's deceptions and his lies, in his distractions, and all of the things he's doing to keep our eyes off of the ball of his own corruption. That's what it boils down to, corruption. And I believe that done properly, such hearings, I mean, this is now July 26th, right? If these hearings were to commence in a week and they were done on a daily basis, at the end of the hearing, Congressman Nadler and colleagues or special witnesses would come forward at the end of each hearing and spend a half hour or an hour with the press going over the repercussions and implications of the hearing, of the day's events. And I would even propose that the Democratic Party under Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and the DNC actually staff, I should say, a war room, which would be open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, whose job it would be to rebut immediately, in real time, every single one of President Trump's ridiculously delusional, insane, misinformative, lying, let's call it lying, not misinformative, lying tweets, okay? And any other nonsense put forth by people like McConnell and the various other mouthpieces for Trump. So there would be a steady, you'd have to have that war room manned, staffed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because that's what's needed. So that kind of a public relations / political response team is needed in addition to the ongoing investigation, the ongoing impeachment inquiry. Now, keep in mind, this inquiry would have to be led in a totally fair and open way. Given that, we also know that the Republicans in the House on that particular committee are likely going to be using their equal time, pretty much. Each of them will get a few minutes, 5 minutes, to question witnesses. So watch how the Republicans will act in effect as the defense attorney for Trump, whose job it is to get the guy off at all costs, not to get to the facts, not to penetrate into the actual subject matter of the hearing at hand and of the actual testimony of the witnesses, but instead to divert and distract and deceive by getting away from the actual subject of the day, of the moment. And they'll be talking about all kinds of conspiracy theories from years ago, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But that's okay. Let them do that in their time, so long as the hearings are permitted to produce actual light and actual facts overall. And it is my belief that an impeachment inquiry, a set of ongoing impeachment inquiry hearings, open public hearings, will have the net result of having Trump removed from office 2 ways. One, if these hearings are as effective as I believe they will be, there's a very good chance, I dare say, that by the spring of 2020, we could actually see public opinion polls coming around to expressing the reality that Trump will have finally been seen for the con artist and liar that he is. And in that event, I believe that the Republican Party probably would dump him like a hot potato, and he might not even be the nominee in 2020. Now, that's probably a best case scenario. The other scenario is that enough of the, I hate to say it, but enough of the cult sticks with Trump so that his numbers stay at between 35 and 44% or something like that. And in that situation, then the impeachment inquiry serves the purpose, and it would have to run every single day, right up into Election Day, November of 2020. It would serve the purpose of informing and motivating millions upon millions upon millions of formerly, so to speak, passive, disgusted, disillusioned people who normally don't even register to vote. They think they can have no influence. And people who may be registered but who normally don't show up. And those broad categories tend to be, at this point in our history, tend to be people more likely to be voting for Democrats. Because let's face it, the Democratic, quote, liberal, progressive agendas have not been seriously energized or pushed. We got a little blip in 2018 after what happened in 2016, but that's not enough. What's needed in 2020 is more than a blip. What's needed is an explosion of 20, 30, 40 million more people. I think it's actually possible. Yeah, 20, 30, or 40 million more people registering to vote and making it a life commitment to show up to vote in 2010, November 2010. And not just to vote against Trump and for whomever the Democrats nominate, whether it's Biden or Sanders or Harris or Warren or anybody that they nominate is going to be a million times better than Donald Trump. So no more circular firing squads. I have my preferences, you have your preferences, but when it comes to November of 2020, there's only one preference, and that is to be rid of the Trump administration and to vote in every single column of that ballot, whether it's for senator, Congress, state representative, state senator, governor, local mayor, local town council, local freeholder boards, whatever it is, county chairman. Every single Trump supporting Republican in this nation needs to be put out of office. I won't go into more depth than that because I've already gone 2.5 minutes over where I wanted to go. So this is now going to be maybe a 13-minute video instead of a 10-minute video. Hopefully there's still some people out there watching. But that's about it for now. So that if you believe this strategy, this tactical approach of using the impeachment inquiry as again, to repeat, the battering ram with which to knock down the stone wall of deception and distraction and diversion that Trump has put up, and to use that battering ram to inform and motivate public opinion. We know that 99% of the people who are already for Trump are likely to be locked in stone, and they're all going to show up to vote. And that's how a plurality of 35 or 40 or 42% of the population can win when the majority doesn't even show up because they're not sufficiently motivated. Essentially, that's how Trump won last time. And we won't get into issues like voter suppression and gerrymandering and the Russian influence, etc. Those are all legitimate, but again, outside of the scope of this particular strategy that I'm recommending today. And thank you very much for those of you who've stuck it out so far. And if you agree, if this makes sense to you, and the ideas and the approach are something that you would like to spread, feel free to share this video. On the other hand, if you don't find my approach viable or interesting or well put, but yet you like the ideas, you like what I'm saying because you've been saying the same things and it just makes sense to you, then make your own video. Say it in your own way. Basically, impeachment inquiry as a method to remove Trump from the presidency electorally. Either he loses his nomination or he loses election in 2020. Bottom line, if that makes sense to you, it's your idea. Make it your own. Do with it. Spread it. And for the third time, I apologize for taking so much longer. So we're now going to hit 15 minutes instead of 10. I'm going to leave it as it is. Thank you very much. Bye.